Welcome, seekers of the shadowy corners of history, to a journey into the heart of a New England nightmare. We're venturing into the spectral echoes of Salem, Massachusetts, a place forever stained by fear and injustice. And at the center of our chilling narrative stands a figure both feared in life and, some say, far more terrifying in death. Sheriff George Corwin. Now, Corwin wasn't just any sheriff. He was the iron fist of the Salem Witch Trials, the man tasked with arresting and interrogating those accused of witchcraft. But to understand the legend that clings to his name, we need to delve into the origins of this haunting tale. The story begins, of course, with the Salem Witch Trials of 1692. Imagine the scene, the air thick with paranoia, neighbors turning on neighbors, and Corwin, a young man barely 30, wielding immense power. They called him the Strangler, a moniker earned not just for his methods of questioning, which often involved sleep deprivation and agonizing confinement, but for a particularly gruesome detail we'll get to later. His position as High Sheriff placed him directly at the heart of the suffering, responsible for the imprisonment and eventual execution of the accused. Think about the accused, innocent men, women, and even children, dragged from their homes, their pleas falling on deaf ears. And there, in the heart of it all, was Sheriff Corwin, enforcing the will of the court with chilling efficiency. He oversaw their imprisonment in the grim Salem jail, a place where despair hung heavy and the only certainty was suffering. He was also ordered to oversee the brutal interrogation of Giles Corey, who was pressed to death for refusing to enter a plea. Corwin's callous actions during this event, such as allegedly forcing Corey's tongue back into his mouth with his cane, would have solidified his image as a cruel figure. But Corwin's cruelty didn't end with imprisonment. He was also responsible for the executions. Imagine standing in the crowd on Gallows Hill, the air thick with the stench of fear and the cries of the condemned. And there, overseeing it all, was Sheriff Corwin. It said his gaze was cold, unwavering, a reflection of the unwavering belief in the righteousness of his actions. Now, here's where the legend takes a truly spectral turn. In 1696, just a few years after the trials, George Corwin succumbed to illness. His relatively sudden death at the young age of 30 might have been interpreted by some as a form of divine retribution or the lingering effect of the suffering he inflicted. But some say his death was not a peaceful release. They whisper that the tormented souls he sent to their deaths clung to him, their anguish binding him to the earthly realm. The old Salem jail, though long gone, is said to be a focal point of his lingering presence. People who have visited the site, even now, decades and centuries later, speak of a palpable sense of unease, a sudden drop in temperature, the feeling of being watched by unseen eyes. One particularly disturbing aspect of the legend revolves around Corwin's death and burial. To avoid the wrath of the families of his victims, his body was initially delayed for burial due to a lien on his corpse. Legend suggests that his family, fearing further desecration, secretly buried him on his own property. But here's the gruesome part, the detail that earned him that chilling nickname. It's said that due to a painful illness, Sheriff Corwin requested that his nephew stand on his chest during his final moments to help him breathe. Imagine the weight, the finality of that act. And it's this image, this final, desperate act, that some believe has imprinted itself onto the land. People have reported seeing a shadowy figure near the site of his former property, a dark silhouette that seems to carry an immense weight, sometimes accompanied by a feeling of crushing pressure. This is further fueled by the fact that the Joshua Ward House, a well-known haunted location in Salem, was built on the site of Corwin's former home. There are tales of those who have felt an invisible force pressing down on their chest while walking near the old jail or Corwin's former land. Some have even claimed to hear faint, labored breathing, a ghostly echo of his final struggle. Local lore speaks of strange occurrences around the anniversary of the executions, or even on the anniversary of Corwin's death. Flickering lights, unexplained cold spots, and the unsettling feeling of being surrounded by sorrow and anger are frequently reported. Some believe these are the residual emotions of those who suffered under his authority, forever trapped in a spectral echo of their final days. Of course, skepticism abounds. Many dismiss these stories as folklore, the product of Salem's already rich and sometimes sensationalized history. But for those who have experienced the unexplainable, the chilling feeling of a presence in the air, the legend of Sheriff George Corwin's ghost remains a very real and unsettling possibility. Think about it. A man who wielded such power, who was so intimately involved in the suffering and death of so many. Could his spirit truly find peace? Or is he forever bound to the land he once terrorized, a constant reminder of a dark chapter in American history? So, the next time you find yourself walking the historic streets of Salem, take a moment, breathe in the salty air, feel the cobblestones beneath your feet, and as the shadows lengthen, perhaps you'll understand why some still whisper the name of Sheriff George Corwin with a shiver, a name forever intertwined with the spectral unease that lingers in the heart of this ancient town. What do you think, friend? Just a spooky story to send a chill down your spine? Or could there be more to the legend of the Strangler's ghost? Perhaps, if you listen closely enough, you might just hear the faintest whisper of a troubled spirit on the wind. Sweet dreams. Or perhaps not so sweet. If you want to hear more spooky and mysterious tales, click the subscribe button and give us a like. If you've heard an urban legend tale and want us to explore its hidden depths, leave us a comment below.